Shut up and sit down.
Hello folks, Colin here, Festas 67's workshop, and welcome to bike one of a trio I'm building. And this is Graziano Rossi's Suzuki RGB500 from Team Galena. Now I'm doing the trio. I'm going to be doing this one, and I'm going to be doing the NSR 500 for his son Valentino Rossi, and then the Grazie Van A Panigale ridden by lucamarini, his stepbrother. So these three bikes are a little trio I'm putting together, just a little idea I've had, and I thought I would roll with it just to see what direction it goes. So here's the instructions, pretty simple instructions, typical to be a bike. You can't go wrong with them, folks. Nice and concise, as you can see, plenty of exploded diagrams. So if you're a new bike builder, just look at the instructions, compare what you're doing, and then see whether it matches. But you cannot go wrong, folks. And this is going to be a nice little bike. I've got some Studio 27 aftermarket decals for it as well, just to do the conversion to Graziano, which is number 22 there. And he's got some different lines and logos on his bike, okay? This is what you've got in the box, the tyres, the rubber hoses, etc. There's all the outer panels. This is the exhausts, frame, etc. Motorcycle chain. Then you've got a bit of kit chrome, which we'll be stripping off because, yeah. And then you've got your other sprue there, wheels, brakes, swing arm, engine, etc. Little paddock stand up in the top right there. So, yeah, beautifully moulded. This is one of the older Tamiya kits, so bear that in mind, folks. But what I'm doing is I'm dipping my kit chrome in a jar of Oven Bright, which is an oven cleaner, folks. And you just literally drop it in there with your tweezers, and then it'll come out, no chrome. Okay? We're doing a little bit of prep on the frame there, getting that started. Using some God hand sanders just to go around and knock back any seams that I don't particularly like, just to dress it up and make it look a little bit more profesh. Okay, I'm using a bit of Tamiya white cap glue because why not? And then we're just letting that do its gloopy thing over the frame so that when we press both the halves together for the frame, you get a good bond. And then if you need to, you can always give it a little bit of a zap with a bit of Tamiya extra thin, and that'll be getting into all the little crooks and nannies through its capillary reaction, folks, okay? Now have a look at the instructions, because there is one part of the frame you don't glue. That is just so that you can splay it, so that you can get the engine block in at a later stage, folks. So bear that in mind. And I'm leaving the bottom edge of my frame so that I can fan it open. Going over the fairing halves with a God hand sander there, just to key the edges, etc. I want to just put a little chamfer on this seam so that when I go in and fill it later, I can then sand it flat. Okay, so that's what I'm doing on mine. Do the same right down the middle at the front there, just a little chamfer, and then I'll go in with a little bit of milliput or a bit of extra thin and see whether the kit plastic will squeeze through, folks. Okay. What I tend to do on the tank halves and the mud guards is I'll put white cap quite thickly on both surfaces so that when I push it together you get a big thick oozing of the glue, and then I'll just give it a little zap with some extra thin, and it should then just melt everything and push a bit of the kit plastic out. Just work your way around the sides there, around the edges that are going to be joined like so. Pretty easy. I'll put them to one side, let it go a little bit tacky, a bit like a contact cement when you're using something like Evo stick or things like that. That's how I tend to do these. And then same with the fairings there, bottom edge, and then we'll work our way up where the radiator is. Scoot along this bottom edge there. Plenty of glue going on, just so that it's nice and gloopy. And then when we press that together, that will just squeeze out, like jam out of a donut, basically. And that's the key part. Right along that front edge there is where a decal's going to go. So you kind of want the seam gone for when you put the decal on, folks, because it'll stick out like the proverbial blind cobbler's thumb. But all in all, this really is a good little old Tamiya kit, just to get back into a bit of bike building. It's been a little while since I've done some. And I've had this trio in my stash for a couple of years. When I got the Panigale Grazie Valet one, it was, yeah, it had to be done. So I finally had the trio, and then I just hung on until Valentino retired, and then I could do all three. And yeah, looking forward to seeing them all finished, painted, and together in a dyno. Probably put them in my garage dyno and take a few pics at the end of the builds. We'll see. These are now ready to go together. They're nice and tacky, which just lets that glue bond a little bit quicker, as it's already started going off, and I can really push this with my thumbs and start letting this squeeze out. Don't be tempted to smooth them straight away. Let the glue fully dry, and then you can come back and then you can knock off any protruding seam edges and bulbous glue. You might need to go over it a couple of times, but don't worry about that. Our main objective is to lose the seam that is right down by my left index finger. That's the key one. So I just want to squish that like so. Just checking the alignment just to make sure that it's not skew whiffed, and then I can just dab a little bit of extra thin in there just to kick that seam into gear, and then we can put that to one side. Let's start a little bit of work on the engine now, a little bit of white cap going around the edges, and then we can start putting this all together, folks, just like so. Again, I want the glue just to squeeze out in a few places, because being an old mould, there are a little bit of rounded edges and things like that you'll need to address. So use my knife there just to square them back up, and then I can quickly buff the edge with a sander. These little mini sanders are really good, by the way. They do a lovely job. Little bit of white cap there around the casing, and then we can pop that together just like that. Bink. Nice and easy to put these little kits together, and then we can just start adding a few little components like the oil cooler, things like that. All these little ancillary bits can go on the engine. Take the eyes off of the chain there, start smoothing that out and getting rid of any seams down the chain, because there's a massive one, goes right around the centre of all the links, so you'll need to key the edges of that. Same on this swing arm. Pull off any mould lines, bits and pieces that shouldn't be there, so that when this goes together you haven't got any visible mould lines, because it will drive you mad otherwise. So spend a bit of time going around the entire swing arm. Use a knife, scraper, fresh blade, just knock off any mould lines. Same on this paddock stand as well. I'm just going to let that go nice and tacky so that we can pop both halves of that together. Right, that's now looking as if that can go together. So just give that a little kick, and then we can push these two parts together, because it's getting nice and sticky now. Again, check your alignment, because obviously you've got a bolt going through it, and the same with the paddock stand. Make sure these little horseshoe shapes are level, because this is what's going to hold the bike in its final position when it's on display. Little bit of tyre prep going on, and then we can come into primer now. And I'm using a pink primer on this because I've got white and blue going on, so I prefer to do all my panels with pink. That way, if I've got light colours, it just gives it a little kickstart. Works for me. And also, just scoot round the edges first. Any little crooks and nannies before you do the top edges and faces of the panels. That way you can catch all the little louvers or recesses or anything like that. And this is just the first of many coats of primer that will go on. And just cover the piece like so, quite nicely. Don't be tempted to do it all in one coat. Just mist it on. I'm pretty lucky here. It's quite a nice warm day and it's going down really, really, really well. So I'm happy with that. But I just want to catch all these little voids, whatever you want to call them, in the fair end there. And again, you can come back crisscross over the panel and then you can give it another coat as needed. Make sure you hit all them little areas buried in the fair in there, because you'll want to grab them, because you'll want the layers of paint to bite, because the inside of the fairing will be black. You still prime it, still prime the inside there, because you have got paint going on. So we'll let that settle. And then we'll start a grey primer on all the engine parts. These are all lacquers that I'm using, so make sure you wear your respirator. And then just give everything a nice little scoop. Just like so. Nice easy primer to use, this one. Catch all the edges, all the little crooks and nannies. Same with the handlebars there. And have plenty of stands as well, folks, for your sticks, because I'm lucky I 3D print mine. But they come in really handy, because you can just move stuff about in the spray booth. You can get all your different colour components on different stands. Just pull them in the spray booth as you need them, folks. It's a big old mist there, but I've got a built-in extractor under the bench that just pulls that down anyway, so... Remember with your wheels as well, you've got little rebates and edges, so try and catch all of that as well. You won't get it on the first coat, so come back and just catch anything that you've missed. Same with these exhausts. I'm actually looking forward to doing them. So yeah, get hold of that. Scooting round there, just doing a little bit more on the swing arm there. Getting a bit of paint, all the recesses, same with the frame there. Cover the outside edges of the tube and then get right up inside and give everything a blast. I'm quite lucky on this because the frame and swing arm colours are dark anyway, so I want to kind of age it a little bit as well, because it was done many years ago. So we're putting down a racing white down on this. Just going over all the tanks, panels. Again, many coats. There's been a mist coat gone on before some of this, on some of the pieces. So again, just try and catch all them little voids. And I shall come back off air and do a lot more coats on these, but this just lets you see the initial coats going down, folks. And it's just a repeat of the process anyway, so. But this is the stage I like, because you start seeing the bike coming alive once you've got paint on going on, and same with the decal stage. You get to see the end result starting to take shape, and I do enjoy that, I must admit. So these will be put in my little hot box to cure. And then I can go round and start doing a bit of detailed painting. Using some Citadel paints here, because they do come in handy for this sort of job. And I'm just going to brush paint the engine, because I forgot to do the top coat whilst I had the spray booth out. So It's just something I want to try actually with this, because it's almost like a dry brush effect. And I'm trying to have some of the black visible in areas just so that it looks like shadow. So, and this will have a non-oil put over the top of it just to give it a bit more of a die-cast look or cast look. So I can detail paint all of this with a brush now because, yeah, I actually find it quicker for me doing it with a brush. Don't know why, just do. But I can get in all them little areas and it saves me a ton of masking as well. So give it a try, folks. Like I say, not everyone in the hobby owns a compressor or a spray booth, and brush painting, it gets forgotten. And a lot of people like to see a bit of brush painting, so I try to vary it up as best as I can for you all. This is allowing me to get into little areas that I can pick and choose whether I want them bright or shadowed or whatever. So, and it lets you see up close the detail in the bike as well. So nice, relaxing, therapeutic. There's a lot of people I know that literally brush paint every build they do. So this is where keeping that frame beam unglued comes in handy, because I could just splay that frame quite easily there and that engine just pops straight in. So that's why I didn't glue that bottom spar. We can now go around and just put a little dab of glue on some of the pegs so that the engine homes itself. And then once that's done, I can glue the spar together. This is the disc brake going on. And I've got a bit of an old, worn, bronzy colour gone on the wheels there, because obviously the bike raced many years ago, so I just wanted it to look a little bit aged. Just thread the chain in there, click that into place. Just sits on the little peg inside the wheel there, the swing arm, and then the wheel itself, it just tucks in like so. And then just put a long screw in there just to retain it. Acts as an axle. Remember to clip your caliper in, folks. Years ago when I started bikes, it's the one thing I used to always forget to do, and it was like, why won't the wheel go in? Could start fastening that, and I tend to nip the wheels up just so that they're a bit stiff, so that when I've got the model on display on my stands, it doesn't roll forward at all. So it's my personal choice. We can look at marrying the rear end now, joining the swing arm onto the frame. Again, just make sure you're putting your chain through and that the sprocket itself engages in the little hole there in the gearbox. And then the swing arm will instinctively line itself up then. And then we can put its retaining screw right down through the frame there. And that will come out the other side, folks. There you go. It's this stage now that the bike just starts taking shape. We've got another screw to go in the other side. This is a two-piece join, this one. A lot of the more modern Tamiya bikes just have a single long screw that goes through. This one's got two, so get the exhaust on. Standard black there with aluminium ends on this one. You don't have to do too much weathering on these, to be honest. A little bit of glue there just to pop that straight into the manifold there. And then go around with a little bit of extra thin just to kickstart the gluing process. And these are your carburetors going on. Back in the day, yes, carburetors before the days of fuel injection, folks. Absolute art form tuning them in, it was. Them. This is the stage I like, because all them little details that have been painted now just start to separate the bits from each other. Another exhaust going on there. And just follow the sequence in your instructions, folks, because threading these exhausts in, you know, it's pretty much a one-shot deal. And then you can just secure them to their respective little pegs on the frame. And then we can start putting the front forks and wheel assembly together again. Clip your brakes, calipers over the discs, and then just feed the screw through. And then we can start putting in the triple trees, the yoke, and the handlebars. Just like that. Give it a little turn, and I'm only doing that just so that all the glue can dry on them. This is the first decal going on the tank there, and I'm using the old decals like this for a reason. I'm actually using them as a mask because this tank is painted in halves, and these decals are a bit creased, a bit wrinkly, and a bit prone to coming apart, but they're perfect for segregating the two halves of the tank. So I'm going to try and cheat and see whether I can use them as a mask, and then I can go over them with the aftermarket decals at the end. Because it is a strange little paint scheme to try and mask this one. Now this decal's a compound curve, so it curves in all directions, and it is going to be a wee challenge. So I start in the middle and I fan it out almost like a Union flag, where you've got your cross and then your diagonal cross. And then I start working a different quarter each time to start getting the wrinkles out. Now you're not going to do it the first time, folks, so take your time with this one. Use your decal setting solutions. I go against the grain and use me thumbs because I find actually me thumb can really smooth out the lines and wrinkles a hell of a lot easier. Just works for me. And then I can just spiral the brush around there and start working the edges of the decal down, and then I can just rub me thumb like so and start losing the wrinkles. I can remember doing this years ago on a bike and people were cringing that I was doing it this way, but on a compound curve, it really does work for me, folks. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on, I'm just literally deftly forming the decal how I want it to go. And as you can see, wrinkles are beginning to come out quite nicely on that side. But the key is not to go too much pressure, not to drag it, just deftly stab at it and just pop the wrinkle to the edge and you'll see it mysteriously disappear. This is where I got the nickname the Decal Whisperer, folks. And then I can roll my cotton bud over it now, and that's going to pop any bubbles out the edges. And that's conforming already, folks. Look at that. Okay? Different ways of doing it. And already I'm beginning to feel happy with that. So I'm trimming as tight to the edge of these, because these are the final decals now, and they're going to go over the ones I applied earlier that I used as a mask, folks. So I want them nice and tight with the cutting. We can just trim that nice to the edge there, work it around. Keep the scissors in one position works for me, and I use my other hand just to spin the decal into the scissor blade as I'm doing these curves, and it lets me get right up tight and personal to the edges like that. And then I can trim any excess off that I don't need off the edge of that letter O and work my way around the edge. And there you go, look at that. Another little decal mask is going on the fairing there. Using my knife just to get the decal where I want it to be. Because the bottom half of this fairing's going to be blue. And trying to second guess where you've got a mask, where the decal's going to land is quite difficult. But these old decals are perfect for using as a mask. It's a little cheat, but for me it works. I'll just roll the cotton bud right tight along the edge of the decal, like so. Get it to conform to all the shapes because you don't want paint going under it. That's the key. Treat it as if it's a piece of masking tape that you're putting down. Yep, I'm happy with that. And then we've got another little piece that will go in to finish that off, which is here. And it's all preparation for when I come to paint. So we just line them up. Almost as if you was doing it for the finished model. So just check and double check your alignment. Because the key for me is keeping that white edge perfect at the top there. So this is where placing the decal is just as important as if this was the finished product. Like that. And then we can do the same the other side as well. Just quickly make sure that that's stayed nice and conformed, which it has. Like that. And then we've done the same now the other side with this decal. Just checking the alignment. Getting it where it needs to be. It goes against the grain when you know this is going back in the spray booth, but it works. Same on the rear section there, the seat canopy. Again, it's got a two-stage paint scheme, but on this one, it's the top half that's got to be a blue. So that's the edge I want to focus on the most. Like that. Then you've got a little bit of decal that will go across that little spar that's sitting on my finger, but I'll possibly brush paint that. We'll see. Just move me decal right where I want it to be, just to keep that little stripe disappearing into the recess of this. You can see what I mean about these decals breaking apart, because this was the original kit decals. And yeah, they were an absolute mare, and I knew they would have issues, so that's why I got the other set. But I still want to use these as the mask, so I'm going to just keep putting all the little fragments back in place, just so that when I paint, I've got the edge that I want. Same with my front mudguard there. Keeping that nice and central. And again, this is a compound curve as well, so it's curving with the shape of the mudguard, but also it's going over the top to the side. So I've got a wide water pen brush that I'm using. It's got water in it, and it's just letting me place that decal and then put a little bit of a wider brush pressure across it. And again, these will all be allowed to dry before I do anything drastic with the paint. But you'll notice in the background the fairings have got their bottom colour on. See what I mean? Use the decal as the mask. It just nails that paint job, doesn't it? We'll carry on decaling this. Just get that along there, like so. I've got the other fairing decals to the side there, is to redo them lines where the blue joins the decal, so that any overspray is hidden by the new decal going over the top. Saves me a lot of time. I want to get this in place because this stripe, I'm a little bit OCD, and I want to try and have enough exposed white each side of it so that it's not off kilter, because it would drive me nuts. Just grab me new bottle of Microsol there, folks. Then we can start giving this mudguard a kick. Just them edges there. Just want them to wrinkle up and then shrink back down. Because unlike the front of the fairing, I can't get enough pressure on these without moving the decal off centre. So I'm going to use the setting solution method on this one, just to see whether we can get that to kickstart and conform. Again, let the decal solution do the work, folks. The temptation when you see it suddenly start bubbling up and wrinkling Just keep working at it. Try to resist it. All I'm doing is I'm just using the brush to move the larger creases around so that they become very fine creases. That's all I'm doing at the moment. Same with this little one at the top there. Just brush the solution on. Get rid of the larger ones and try and brush out as much as I can. You can see the edges beginning to wrinkle down by my left thumb there. That's the solution doing its thing. Happy days. And like I say, just try and move any of the big ones. It's not kicked in yet, so I've got time. Right. Let's have a look, and we're going over the decal now that we placed as a mask. So literally I can use it to line up the new one. Just pop that straight over the edge, like that. So I've got a nice fresh decal gone on. And then I can move that about as I choose. But it's a cheat way of getting that paint scheme right, because you know, a good friend of mine, you know, they had a hell of a job trying to mask it and got quite, disappointed with it. So they're going to have another go now because I've gone through and said to them how I done mine. So yeah, look at that. I'm happy with that. I can now do the same with that decal. Get that in situ. But that's given me a nice defined edge along there that I can work with. So it saved me a lot of time. I could now start putting all the intricate decals on. This has had time to dry. The fairing decal stripe one there, the Novo, that's had time to dry. So I can now start doing all these intricate lines now. Again, let the brush do the work, folks. Move it around as you see fit. And then I'm just going along now and getting any bubbles out, because this is, again, another compound curve that this is going on. And then use your cotton bud or Q-tip to get any bubbles, creases out of it. There's enough of an overhang there that I can flick around the fairing for now. And then we can start putting the sponsorship decals on. Start lining them up. And to my left, I've got the sheet with all of the livery on it there. And I've asterisked it so that I know I'm doing the Graziano bike. So some of the sponsors were slightly different on his bike. So again, just move the decal around until you're happy. And then we can put the roundels on, even though they're octagonal or hexagonal. And this is where the number's going to go on. But as you can see, it's quite a strange little curve, that one. So the decal does need a bit of work just to get any wrinkles out of it. Same process though, just go over it. Keep working at it. And it will conform, folks. This is for the seat unit. Again, pop the decal down. And then that will pick up the overlap between the white and the blue. Just like that. And then we can now get the decal solution in to do its thing. Now this poor little seat cover has had a bit of repair work done on it, because I put it on my seat to grab something when I was stood up, but I sat down and heard that really resounding crunch that you get. And you get that cold feeling, don't you, knowing what you've done. And it's like, oh no. So yeah, it had to quickly get a bit of repair work done on it. So again, once the decals have all dried and I've given it a coat, I can then go back and do the repair on the spar at the back. And this is with the tank down, putting a new line down there, because I peeled off the other decals that were really creased and torn But I'd already got a nice decent masking line between the blue and the white there. So I can now just fan this round this tank, move it about, and then we can try and get the decal to line up with that bottom edge of that blue. Get any bubbles out of it, and then work our way around this tank. Actually quite an eye-catching paint scheme. I didn't think it would be when I first saw the box art, but it has grown on me. Certainly a bike of its era. But, yeah. Nice to see the difference in these when they'll be built between frame design from the old tubular trellis to box frames up until the modern variant where it's all like carbon fibres and exotic materials. It has really changed. We went through the twin spar aluminium frame stage and all of that. So on these racing bikes, it's nice to see how the development over the years has changed on them. This is Graziano's number going on. This is when now the bike is telling its story for me. It's now his bike, innit? It's got his number on it, folks. I know I need to get out more, but yeah. Again, let the solutions do their work. I'm trying to roll out the biggest bubble, and then I'll go over it with some microsol, and then that'll do its thing. It'll drop that 22 straight in there quite nicely, folks. But time spent at this stage saves a lot of heart rate, and that. Look at that. Oh, yeah. And then now this side's a repeat of what we've already done there, putting the number background in, getting rid of any bubbles. You can see the bulge in the fairing by me thumb there. It's quite a compound curve this has gone over. And then now put some of the side markings on the mudguard there. Sponsorship logos and things like that can start going on. Look at that. Looking good, isn't it? I'll just flip around like so, just checking to make sure that I've got them roughly in line, and then I can then roll that in quite nicely. Go. I'm happy. Right. Got decals going on the exhaust pipe ends there on the silencers. Just brush them or get any creases out, etc. Not much of that's going to be too visible, but and then do the same on this one, because these poke out at the side of the seat cowling on Graziano's bike, so we should be pretty lucky. I've just quickly looked at the picture and I thought they was going to go under the seat cowling, but on Graziano's bike they popped out and went along the side, so he's got his sponsorship logos on there. Just as well I checked. I'll just quickly smooth that down like so. Use me knife there just to move it around, just to try and get it lined up a bit better. And then I can compare that to the other side, which is looking all right. So yeah, we'll live with that. Graziano's number going on the side there, folks. Just pull that down and line that up. Now, as they've dried, these yellow octagons have got a little bit translucent. I was gonna swap them out, but I decided against it because I thought, well, as the bike has aged, the paint has probably got a little bit faded and things like that. So I decided against replacing them, but yeah, for me it works. Just smooth out any bubbles like so. Like that. But again, if you want it authentic and nice and bright, you can either paint behind where the octagon's going to go with white paint, or you can just get a brighter decal, an aftermarket decal, and go on there. But I quite like the slightly worn look myself. It's growing on me. It's got a little bubble there that I want to get shot of. Then we can start doing the same here now with all the lines, the sponsorship decals and all of that. So I shall be flicking this backwards and forwards just to try and get me lines that look reasonably similar, symmetrical, like so. And then we can lose that crease then by just pressing down on it and feeding the shorter edge of the decal up into that fairing. And now I can roll along that quite happily and get that to start to bed down. And then just press any excess decal over the edges, because when I detail paint the inside, I can go around and just remove them little longer parts. But yeah, that's coming together. Quite happy with that. Got the sponsorship decals going along the bottom there. Same process. Rub your Q-tip over the decal to get rid of any air bubbles. Just rolling it over like so. And I know this is all getting micro-soled anyway, so if anything does need a kick, the decal solution will do it for me. You tinsy-wincy little sponsorships just along there. And already it's beginning to look like the racing bike it's intended to, so very happy with how it's coming along. Now we can do the decals on the seat canopy there. Same process. Work your way around it. Trying to use the knife there, just flicking left to right, just so that I can see an imaginary line going across to make sure I'm getting them as near as damn it as in line as I can. I'm using the light shining off the back of that seat cowl there as a little guideline almost, so just lets me line them up a bit. And then we can just start perfecting, getting them exactly where I want. You might as well spend time at this stage just moving your decals around just so that you can get them precisely where you want them to be. And then we can now just roll the Q-tip along there and start letting these lay flat. A little bit more across the top there, another decal to go on there, another little sponsor. Might as well grab that one. Try not to put me my hands over into the decals I've just put. I've done that before. Barry Sheen bike springs to mind. I'm just checking there to make sure that lines up, and then we can just start moving it around to get that as near as damn it in place. And we've got the final few sponsorship decals to do on this seat cowling. And again, just move the decal around. Use your instruction artwork. Just double check everything that you're doing so that you know you're getting the placement where it needs to be, folks. It really is quite therapeutic doing this because, like you say, you can just sit there and faff around till your heart's content. The old champion logo going in there back in the day. And then just use your brush there to go over any of the edges. And then roll the air bubbles out. Job done, more or less. Just quickly line that up a bit better, like that. And it seems that they're reasonably in line, so I can live with that. That corner a knock. got a Suzuki sticker going underneath, or decal, because obviously when the bike's banked into a corner, you're going to see this. So there you go. Iconic bike of its time, I must admit. Long lost golden era of 500cc motorcycling. The wonderful Speller 2-stroke I remember from when I was a young boy, going to these races, and yeah, can't unsmell 2-stroke. It's right. So time to start putting the seat unit in. There's the seat. Now, how many of you out there think that looks like the world's most uncomfortable seat pad? Yeah, no wonder he walks like a cowboy. We'll just press that into place, folks. Get that all sorted out. Looking rather sexy though, isn't it? And we've been round and we've done all the black inside the fairings as well. So we can now pop the tank on. Get that in place. Like so, simple press fit, folks. And again, I shall polish the bike off camera once I can get all my fingerprints and all of that lot off it. And then we can just rock that seat cowling. It goes round the front edge of them pipes. So all you've got exposed is the aluminium tips there with the decals on, folks. Okay. We'll have a little bit of white cap on this post. Same on the other side, because there's two little lips inside the seat cowling that locks into, and I just want that to be glued on so it doesn't pop off whenever I move the bike around, like that. And then that will leave just the canopy to go on. But it's coming together. I'm really, really liking how this little bike has come out. I've had this in my stash for a lot of years, and I've just made a modification with it where I've put in the breather pipe just on top of the fuel cap there, and then I can send that down into the frame and lose it in there. But it just adds a little bit more detail to it. Just something I spotted, so I'm drilling actually into the tank so that I can feed that unit through. The pipe goes into the tank, and then I'll put a bit of florist wire inside the fuel line so that I can have it keep its shape, and then I can tuck that right down into the frame. Just give it a little bit of authenticity on it. And there's the finished bike, folks. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Don't forget, click the little festa in the corner, like and subscribe to me channel. Remember to ring the bell and you'll get notified of future content. You can support me over on patreon.co/Festas67's workshop. Thanks for watching.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down.